So we used to just write for Trevor. And then there was a whole year where we wrote for a bunch of guest hosts. And now it's a little bit of a rotation where we have John on Mondays and then we have whichever of the correspondents on the rest of the days of that week. I don't know about y'all, but because I started as writing for Trevor and then switched over to that guest host year, I actually felt pretty prepared to write for the correspondents in those alternating weeks. But I'm interested in what y'all felt while it was happening.
Yeah, I think what's unique about our show, too, is we were always writing for Trevor, but we always had correspondence, right, where we would do chats or segments, even like, Lewis Black coming in to do a whole segment in Act 2 sometimes. So I think we all had the skill of being able to switch from one voice to another because we would write for correspondence on any given day in addition to writing for Trevor. And so I feel like that really served us well in the guest hosting era because we all had fine-tuned those skills of writing for different voices. And not to toot our own horn, but I think a lot of the guest hosts even commented like, wow, you guys are really good at writing for me. You gave me so many good jokes that I love. They're for me. They're in my voice. And we did it in just that 4-day period they were hosting. So I think that's something that we are particularly good at. And that I really love doing too. Not that I don't love writing for one host, but it is kind of fun to challenge yourself, stimulates your joke writing brain a little bit more to adapt the types of jokes you can and can't tell for different people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that, like, I'm not like a big voice shifter person.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that usually is to me in like a setup or just the wording of whatever the joke is. But I feel like you could package any joke into anyone's voice, kind of. At least that's what I'm doing. Maybe I'm bad at it.
No,
I'm actually
no.
doing something different.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I just kind of shoehorn it. Like, I kind of know, like, oh, well, Ronnie he'd be more like upset or something, If you have a concept of a joke, you can kind of just like finesse it. And like, whatever. It's not, to me, that's not that hard.
I feel like you've described it perfectly. To me, voice, it's so rare for a comic or really any performer to have a distinct voice. And I feel like in all of entertainment that I've ever watched, of all of stand-up, there's only a few people that I'm like, this on paper I could recognize as this person's joke. I think that most people, their voice, quote unquote, is the funniest joke in the way they want to say it. But I think a lot of people think of voice as only this person could tell this joke, which I think is only true of a few people ever.
Right. Well, it might be like if you had someone like if Rodney Dangerfield was hosting, then I'd have to sit down and be like, okay, I have to construct like these types of jokes.
Yeah, these types of one-liners.
Right. But when you're doing like, here's a show about current events coming out of clips, it's like that's what the jokes are going to be. And then the voice is just sort of like, how would this person say it? But that's kind of the less hard part than the joke.
Yeah.
To a point where it's like I don't even really think about it that much.
I think I might just do it naturally. If I know who I'm writing for, I'm only really thinking of jokes I imagine them telling.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe if I had the same story with a different host, I'm curious, would I come up with the same joke but in a different way? Because for me, I do think of voice a lot. Like I remember when I was like doing late night packets submitting for stuff, and when I submitted for The Daily Show, I just like kind of binged Trevor's stand-up specials and binged some episodes of The Daily Show. So it's almost like, when you get like a song in your head, I would kind of just have Trevor's like voice and rhythm in my head as I was going in to write the packet. So I do think of it a lot as like voice and rhythm. At least it helps me to kind of be thinking like that person as I'm trying to write for them.